Imagine a world where a single smile could dissolve all sorrow, where hope rises like a lotus from the mud of despair. What if that power lies dormant within you, waiting to be awakened? Today, I invite you on a journey through 5 untold stories of Maitreya Buddha, the Buddha of the future, whose boundless compassion and joy illuminate the path to inner peace. Stay with me, for these tales will stir your soul and remind you of the light you carry within. Will you walk this path to the end? As a historian and philosopher immersed in the teachings of Buddhism, I have spent decades tracing the threads of Maitreya's legacy stories that whisper of a future where love triumphs over suffering. Maitreya, the Buddha of loving kindness, is not just a figure of prophecy, but a mirror reflecting our own potential for joy and compassion. In these 5 original stories, crafted from the essence of Buddhist wisdom, we explore how Maitreya's spirit touches lives across time. These tales, born from the heart of Dharma, are designed to awaken your spirit, stir your emotions, and inspire you to see the world through the lens of hope. Let us begin with 2 stories that reveal Maitreya's power to transform even the darkest moments into light. Story 1. The Weavers. In a dusty village nestled in the shadow of the Himalayas, there lived a weaver named Aruna, whose hands wove intricate tapestries, but whose heart was heavy with grief. Her only son had fallen ill, and no healer could save him. Each night, Aruna sat by his bedside, her tears staining the threads of her unfinished work. The village whispered of her sorrow, and hope seemed a distant dream. One evening, as the moon hung low, a stranger appeared at her door. A portly man with a radiant smile, his eyes twinkling like stars. He carried no possessions, only a sack slung over his shoulder, and his laughter echoed like a gentle stream. "Why do you weep, dear weaver?" he asked, his voice warm as sunlight. Aruna, startled, poured out her pain, her fear of losing her son. The stranger listened, his smile unwavering. "Sorrow is a thread," he said, "but joy is the loom. Weave them together, and you will create something eternal." He handed her a single golden thread from his sack, shimmering with an otherworldly glow. "Thread this through your work tonight, and trust in the heart's resilience." Aruna, though skeptical, wove the golden thread into her tapestry under the moonlight. As she worked, her heart felt lighter, as if the thread carried her burdens away. She sang softly to her son, and for the first time in months, he smiled faintly. By dawn, his fever had broken, and his eyes sparkled with life. The stranger was gone, but the village buzzed with tales of a wandering monk whose laughter healed hearts. Aruna's tapestry, now radiant with the golden thread, became a village treasure, a reminder that even in despair, joy can be woven into life's fabric. This was no ordinary monk, but Maitreya, the Buddha of the future, whose presence reminds us that compassion can mend what seems irreparably broken. Aruna's story teaches us that even in our darkest moments, a single act of trust in love's power can shift the course of our lives. Have you ever felt a moment of unexpected hope? That, dear friend, is Maitreya's touch. Story 2. The Lantern in the Storm. Centuries ago, in a coastal town battered by endless storms, lived a fisherman named Kale, whose heart was as turbulent as the seas he sailed. Orphaned young, Kale trusted no one, believing the world was a place of betrayal and loss. One night, a ferocious tempest swept through, sinking boats and shrouding the town in darkness. Kale, stranded on a rocky outcrop, cursed the heavens, his lantern flickering against the howling wind. As despair gripped him, a figure emerged from the storm, a jovial man, round-bellied, carrying a lantern that burned with an unshakable light. "Why do you fight the storm, young one?" the man asked, his voice cutting through the gale. Kale, shivering and angry, shouted, "The world takes everything. What is left to hold on to? The man chuckled, a sound like bells ringing in a temple. The storm is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Light your heart, and you will find your way. He touched Kale's dim lantern, and it flared brightly, illuminating the path to shore. As Kale followed the light, the storm seemed to soften, guiding him to safety. The next morning, the town marveled at Kale's survival. His lantern, now glowing with an inner warmth, became a beacon for lost sailors. Kale, once hardened, began to share his catch with the poor, his heart softened by the stranger's words. Whispers spread of a joyful monk who carried light through the darkest storms. Maitreya, whose presence teaches us that even in chaos, compassion is our anchor. Kale's transformation reminds us that the light we seek is already within us, waiting to be kindled. Story 3. The Merchant's Mirror. In a bustling market town along the ancient Silk Road, there lived a merchant named Vajrayana, whose wealth was matched only by his greed. His stalls overflowed with silks and spices, yet his heart was cold, hoarding every coin and turning away beggars with a scowl. One sweltering afternoon, as Vajrayana counted his profits, a rotund traveler approached, his laughter filling the air like a melody. His simple robe was patched, yet his eyes sparkled with an unshakable joy. In his hand, he held a small, cracked mirror. "Why do you cling so tightly, friend?" the traveler asked, holding the mirror before Vajrayana. "Look within and see what truly matters." Vajrayana, annoyed, glanced into the mirror, expecting his own reflection. Instead, he saw the faces of those he had ignored, the hungry child, the weary traveler, the widow he had dismissed. Their eyes held no anger, only silent, longing for kindness. Stunned, Vajrayana's heart trembled. "Who are you?" he whispered. The traveler smiled. "I am but a reflection of what you can become." That night, Vajrayana could not sleep. The mirror's images haunted him, stirring memories of his own childhood when his mother shared their last rice with a stranger. By dawn, he made a choice. He opened his stalls, giving food and blankets to the poor, his heart lighter with eject. The cracked mirror, now hung in his home, became a symbol of his transformation. The town spoke of a laughing monk who carried no gold but gave riches beyond measure. Maitreya, whose mirror shows us the truth of our shared humanity. Vajrayana's story asks us, what do you see when you look within? Can you reflect Maitreya's compassion in your own life? Story 4. The Child's Song. In a remote valley cradled by misty mountains, a village lay silent, its people weighed down by years of drought. Crops withered, and hope faded like the morning dew. Among them was a young girl named Lila, whose voice was said to carry the sweetness of a lark. Yet even Lila's songs had grown quiet, her spirit dimmed by the village's despair. One evening, as the sun dipped below the peaks, a jolly figure wandered into the valley, humming a tune that seemed to dance with the wind. His round face glowed, and he carried a simple flute. "Why have you stopped singing, little one?" he asked Lila, sitting beside her on a dry riverbank. "The world still listens." Lila, her eyes downcast, replied, "What is a song worth when the land is dying?" The stranger chuckled, a sound like rain on parched earth. "A song is a seed. Plant it and watch it grow." He handed her the flute and taught her a melody, simple yet vibrant, that seemed to call to the heavens. Layla played, her notes rising like a prayer, and the village gathered, their hearts stirred by the sound. That night, clouds gathered, and rain fell for the first time in years. The villagers danced, their laughter mingling with Lila's melody. The stranger was gone, but his flute remained, a gift that Lila played each dawn, bringing hope to her people. Whispers spread of a joyful wanderer whose music awakened the earth. Maitreya, whose presence reminds us that even a small act of beauty can revive a weary world. Leela's song teaches us that our voices, no matter how small, can spark miracles when offered with love. Story 5. The Warrior's Burden. In a kingdom scarred by endless wars, there lived a warrior named Dhruv, whose sword had carved paths of victory, but left his heart heavy with guilt. Each battle hardened him, and he believed peace was a dream for fools. One twilight, as he rested by a river, blood still staining his armor, a jovial figure approached, his round form glowing under the fading sun. The man carried a simple staff, yet his presence felt like a shield against Dhruv's inner turmoil. His laughter, soft and warm, seemed to quiet the echoes of war. "Why do you carry such a heavy burden, warrior?" the stranger asked, sitting beside Dhruv. "Your heart fights a battle no sword can win." Dhruv, his voice rough, replied, "I have taken lives. There is no forgiveness for me." The stranger's eyes twinkled with kindness. "Every heart can be freed. Lay down your sword and pick up this." He handed Dhruv a small lotus bud, its petals tightly closed. "Hold it gently and let your heart soften." Dhruv, skeptical but weary, clutched the bud. As he sat in silence, memories of those he had harmed flooded his mind, not with judgment, but with their hopes and dreams. Tears fell, and the lotus began to bloom in his hands, its fragrance easing his pain. The stranger was gone, but Dhruv felt a shift. He buried his sword by the river and vowed to protect life instead of taking it. The kingdom spoke of a laughing monk who turned warriors into guardians, Maitreya, whose compassion melts even the hardest hearts. Dhruv's story reminds us that no burden is too heavy for love to lift. Have you ever longed to release your own regrets? Maitreya's light awaits you. As we conclude our journey through these 5 stories, Aruna's golden thread, Kale's lantern, Vimal's mirror, Leela's song, and Dhruv's lotus, we see Maitreya Buddha, not as a figure bound by time, but as a living force within us. As a historian and philosopher, I have studied countless texts, from the Pali Canon to the Lotus Sutra. Yet the essence of Maitreya lies not in words, but in the heart's capacity for transformation. Each story reveals a truth. Compassion is the thread that weaves joy, the light that pierces darkness, the mirror that reflects our shared humanity, the song that revives hope, and the lotus that blooms through forgiveness. Maitreya, the Buddha of the future, is not waiting in some distant realm. He is here, in the smile you offer a stranger, in the courage to face your pain, in the choice to act with kindness. These stories, though crafted anew, echo the timeless Dharma. Suffering is real, but so is liberation. As a Buddhist scholar, I invite you to see yourself in Aruna's resilience, Kale's hope, Vimal's awakening, Lila's creativity, and Dhruv's redemption. You, too, carry Maitreya's light. So, what will you do with this light? Will you weave joy into your struggles, like Aruna? Will you kindle hope in chaos, like Kale? Will you reflect compassion, like Vimal, or sing life into barren places, like Lila? Will you release your burdens, like Dhruv, and choose love over fear? The path of Maitreya is not a distant dream, it is a step you can take today. Smile at someone who needs it. Listen to a heart in pain. Offer a small act of kindness. These are the seeds of awakening, the legacy of Maitreya. As our journey ends, I leave you with this. Maitreya's laugh echoes in every heart that dares to love. These 5 stories are not just tales, they are mirrors for your soul. Carry them with you, and let their wisdom guide your steps. As a scholar, I bow to the light within you, the same light Maitreya shares. Will you let it shine? Stay with this feeling, and let it inspire you to act with love today. The future begins with you.